So this morning we're going to be discussing sodomy. And more importantly is because one of the avenues pedophiles sodomize young children is through the trust of parents to religious leaders. So there are a few stories we're going to reference where we saw that a religious leader, either an imam or a pastor or a minister, is put in care of a child. And at some point, the child is sodomized. Now, that's an issue. However, what is more important for us to discuss is the fact that parents are still trusting, or should they continue to trust, that somebody who they refer to as a religious leader should be able to take good responsibility of children and not sodomize. That's the conversation, because we're still having a situation whereby parents are handing over their wards to imams, handing over their wards to pastors and ministers and clerics. You're thinking to yourself, is it that the world has changed? And we can't trust a man of God? We can't trust an imam with a child again? Or are there still good ones out there? Or what should be the modus operandi when you feel a child needs a special spiritual attention? I mean, as I've said, I've shared this story several times that when I just got back fresh from the US, every small prayer, I used to fall and die, fall down. And when I was like, how many demons did you bring from the US? They carried me to MFM to go and do 7 days dry, you know, and I was like, what is going on here? And I was just left there. I was still fresh. I didn't know what was going on. They just put me there. And I was there. I wasn't a child. I was an adult. But it was a parent saying, okay, you need some spiritual cleansing. Go and do 7 days. There are some children that parents feel like, this girl needs some deliverance or this boy needs some deliverance. Let me go and give it to the pastor and give the child to the pastor. But should that still happen today? Can we still trust our imams with our children? Or should we just hands up and do your deliverance in your house? What are your thoughts on this, trusting spiritual people with our children?
I think we have it all wrong. Because pastors, imams, they are human. And they have all the faults that humans come with. We are mistaking our pastors and our imams for the Almighty. The Almighty is the Almighty. Once we can learn to differentiate between our spiritual leaders and the Almighty, maybe we'll start to think before you go and drop a 12-year-old child with a pastor or an imam. Why? That means you are incapable. That means you go, Social Security should take your child. If you cannot deliver your child from whatever demons you think your child has, then you don't deserve to be a parent.
But Mary, let me come to Nima, actually, because as a young person, they take, especially Muslim children, to Lekil at a young age. They just take you to Lekil and you're there to study the Quran, and that's how you learn. We did that growing up. I mean, as a growing up in a Muslim home, as a child, we used to do that. But can we still do that today when we're having trust issues now with our men of God? Okay, so Lekil is the school, Arabic school, and so I went all my life, and it's okay to take your child to school, but to delegate parenting to the person that's supposed to teach. The difference is teaching the child. And you know, it's within a regulated amount of hours during the day. You as a parent, when you drop off your child, you know when to come back to pick your child. You are still checking. And the story we were referencing in this story, this 11-year-old boy was given to a 28-year-old Arabic teacher. And the boy came home to explain to his mom that I don't want to go again. I'm being sodomized. Because the parents just, you know, left him there. He was there like a boarding school. He came home for Salah and was saying to his mom, I don't want again. You know, I think that is totally wrong. For instance, my kids don't go to any Ilekeu because right now I cannot trust the same, even my Ilekeu as a child, when I was a child, I heard stories of how one of the Afars, one of the youngest Afars that arrived at the time, was dating one of the girls. You know, so abuses happen. And because, as YK said, they are human, you need to put that that issue of them being human first. There's nobody that is holy, except you see God yourself. You need to do what you need to do as a parent. You know, what I cannot stand is somebody put up a religious front and say, because I am that religious, in Islam, we're supposed to revere people of knowledge. So that reverence is now done without checks, done anyhow. A person who has not exemplified themselves, who have not, you know,
stood out for anything. Not just see somebody, one person is speaking Arabic, say, I just cannot stand that thing. Growing up, my younger sister never attended an Arabic school. She became a scholar at home. My father being a scholar anyway, but we know that all this dramatizing, all those things, they're human. Right. And so you must put that knowledge before that when you hand over your child to anybody. Right. I subscribe to an online class, and my children are becoming Quranic Hafiz, studying at home.
Let me come to Mariam, because when you say a child has spiritual problems, I always wonder, how does a child have spiritual problems? I mean, if you're an adult, you feel that, okay, I need deliverance, I need some spiritual cleansing. You and an adult make that decision. But a 12-year-old, because in this story that we're reading, the Lagos State Police, they ran this Pastor Michael Abiodun of the Lighthouse Gospel Church over raping a 12-year-old church member. So, I mean, if you could read the story through, this child obviously was taken to this pastor. Why would we take the children to... I mean, I don't understand.
For many people who grew up in Nigeria, I'm sure maybe 5 out of 10 houses, households, you had a parent that would take you to church so that they will pray for you. And you used to hear this: you have a spirit husband. They saw something in your future that was not good, and so you have to do some things. And you'll be asked to drink all sorts of things. It's a culture. It's a culture that we believe we're a very spiritual group of people, and we believe that we believe in the spiritual, which is good, but we also believe that there are some people who have the express relationship with God, that until we go to those people, we will not hear from God directly. These are the people that once they close their eyes or say a prayer, God answers them immediately. And because of all the things that has happened over time, I think people are thinking twice about how you just leave without questioning, especially young people who are vulnerable with these people. The truth is, there's nothing wrong with having spiritual leaders. There's nothing wrong with having people who would pray for you. It's their job, it's their calling, as they say. They have the training, they have the experience, they understand, these different prayers. And it's also good to have someone that is like a support, a spiritual support. But that does not mean we should close our eyes to the fact that they're humans, as Waiki mentioned. They're still human beings. And as a parent, we need to put that into consideration. The people that have been, the stories that we have read before, it's not just children that have been abused. Even full adults who find themselves in such compromising situations, and they're questioning, did it just happen? Did this person just do this to me? And I've heard women say they found themselves in this situation and they were unable to say anything because first they were ashamed. First of all, what took you there? That's what people would ask, even though you have been asked to go there. So it's just, maybe we should rethink this culture,
Let me go to that angle you took with Mariam, that what took you there? Because what takes somebody there is usually the manipulative sermons we hear. Let's dig further. Some of the manipulative sermons we hear is, when I touched that child, I saw this, and I prayed, and we saw results. And then the child passed the exam. You hear this, and for you as a mother, that's a testimonial. This is my very, very strong-headed boy that I've been trying to get him. Maybe when I take him to pastor, he will lay his hands on him or her. And all this she wants to do lipstick, she wants to do her hair, she wants to color her hair to be green, maybe to calm down. Pastor, please pray for my daughter. She's just 12 years old, and she's coloring her hair green. Please, that is part of the... So you believe that when the pastor touches that child, and then she'll come out better. And you keep taking that child there, forgetting that is parenting. You're handing over parenting to the pastor or to the imam. YK, let me let you come in.
No, I was just going to talk about a couple of years ago, the Catholic Church got into some big scandal over a lot of children that they had molested.
Absolutely.
It was a big scandal. I think the guy was even jailed.
It was a whole generation of people
that had been abused by the church. In another unrelated story, but related, there was a nunnery in France when they dug underground, they met corpses of babies.
Ooh.
So the nuns were having babies and having them, giving them
and burying them.
Burying them. They were skeletons of babies. So it still goes to this. We are hearing more now because of social media.
Yeah.
It's not that this thing is new. It's not that it is just happening.
Yeah.
It has been happening.
So
I think Wyke is trying to say that we have used religion has been used to carry out
Lot of
crime
evils.
and evil, but because it's religion and because it's spiritual world and these are spiritual leaders, we don't question it. Many times here, when you want to talk about some spiritual leaders, they say, touch not my anointed, meaning you can't question them, whatever that they do. But as parents, we need to do better for our children. We need to understand that they are vulnerable. There are some things they'll be afraid to ask because, first of all, they think they're before an adult. And the way we raise Nigerian children is that you are not too expressive with an adult. You listen to the adult, you obey the adult, you do exactly as the adult says. And some of these molesters will say to them, don't say anything. If you do, you'll be killed.
Yeah.
So before you even hear anything from these children, the damage has been done. And you can't totally blame children because we know of adults who will go through this and keep mum as well because they are ashamed that it happened to them. They are ashamed that they would not know what to say. And they're trying to even understand that maybe it has some spiritual connotations. There used to be a time now we had women who wanted to have babies, and in the end, we find out that it's the spiritual leader that actually gave her the baby, you know? So we just need to do better as Nigerians. The mindset of that spirituality, we have to question.
Yeah.
If it affects your child's rights, your human rights, then it cannot be right. God cannot be both good and evil.
Let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue with this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So, YK talked about the Catholic Church, and I like to reference that because we know about the practice of exorcism, which the Catholics practice. And it was interesting, there's an article that I saw from David Carey saying that exorcism has increased after the U.S. protests. So it's still widely practiced, where people believe that a person is possessed by demons, and then you have to go through a spiritual cleansing to bring out the demons. So that is there. However, the question is a lot of parents that believe their child needs deliverance. So the practice is rife and it's there. But when you feel your child needs deliverance, how do you ensure that you're taking your child to the right man of God or to the right imam? Because in the story that we're taking, Wyke, where this woman has lost 2 children, they died. This is her 3rd child. She doesn't want this 3rd child to die. So she wants this child, there are evil spirits killing my children or maybe ancestral demons killing these children. Please help me cleanse this one so this one doesn't die. And then the pastor rapes this child and says it's the devil. So it's the same question. There are reasons. We don't just take our loved ones to a pastor. It's because we expect that it's for a solution. Well, how? So who do we hold responsible? Is it the parents that will take it or the pastor for being irresponsible? Who should be responsible for this?
We should have laws that is holistic, that takes both guardian, whether parent or guardian, and the imam both liable for this kind of things. Remember the stories that were breaking from religious houses from up north to Ibadan, Islamic religious houses where parents who have a difficult child, and rather than sit and work at, helping that child through or sitting up and becoming a parent, because some of these things require that you give up your own life. We had a mother who escorted her daughter who wrote a book on our show here, and she said she had to leave her career, or was it the dad that left his career to see that girl through? So some parents don't understand these things and we make it cheap. What I hate is that, they take their child, go and dump at a place where the child is chained, beaten, and they never check back. Sadly, some will check and make it make sense to them. I don't know how it makes sense to them that their child is being tortured like that and they say it's for his own good.
Yes.
Somebody sells it to them that it's for his own good. How do you see a human that is not even related to you?
But they'll testify as others, that others went through that path and came out good.
The person is now conditioned.
Let's say,
and you think it's okay.
Let's say your child is wants to color her hair green, for instance, like you said, and you take her to this pastor, and then she doesn't want to color her hair green. She just goes into herself. She becomes quiet. Then you now think,
it has worked.
pastor has done his work.
Now knowing that they've raped her.
They've raped her.
And she's coward,
She cannot talk again.
And she's
Let me
tired
take
and
this
she's
call
even angry
from
with
Dr.
you.
Chukwu, who's been holding for a while. Good morning, Dr.
response.
Chukwu.
Contributing.
Good morning, Murayo. I'm just time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Of course, I want to just contribute to the pastor and imam issue. The truth is that some of the people who call our pastors today say that God called them. And I think most of them they are the ones that call themselves. And another thing I noticed is that parents are more religious and taking care of their children. Every man, every woman, or as a parent, is supposed to be the first pastor or imam of his child. But in this case, like we have a school here, you notice that in the course of this, some of the Muslim people in the school will tell you, no, I want my child to go to Ilekeu. There is nothing wrong in that Ilekeu, but how much do you know that person teaching that your child in Ilekeu? Or even the pastor you are handing over your child to take care of. How much do you know him? How much have you been to his private life and know his kind of person?
Yeah.
Or because your friend said, my child is doing this, so send your own child to do the same. Honestly, most of the times what we give, when we release our children to these so-called our spiritual fathers, we end up having them being worse or destroy more than they left.
Right. Thank you, Okechukwu. As I said, there are testimonials, Mariam, of people who have been through this. They took their child to a pastor, and the child came out better, and they feel thankful that, God delivered my child. So, and they recommend that to other. We better take them to Pastor Lagbaji or to Imam, that they can pray for that child, because that's what I did with my son, Shegun. And Shegun is now he did straight A's. He's now in Harvard. Yeah. You know, these are word of mouth that we share. So because we have that, people will take their child to that place to get spiritual cleansing, especially having challenges.
Yes, but parents have to understand that parenting does not stop because your child now has a mentor, or has a spiritual leader, or has a teacher that has taken an interest in him. You will still ask the questions. You will still teach your child to know the signs of, abuse, or people who are grooming, signs. You should still build a relationship with your child, that your child feels safe to talk to you about things that they may not even understand, And that's the problem we have here is because you have been told that this is a spiritual leader, then you leave the child there. Whatever the person says, however it sounds to you, even when it does not make sense, even when you know that it does not follow the law of, good behavior, you still want to push it away, because with most religions, with Christianity especially, the one that I practice, there's this thing about a spiritual leader who cannot be touched, who cannot be asked. That religious leader, whatever it says, however it sounds, he's right or she's right. And when we talk about telling people to use, there was a time where we were now telling Nigerians, use your brain, ask the questions. You were not seen as having faith. You have lost faith if you're asking questions. You have to have blind belief, in the word of God. But the truth is this really the word of God, or people who have manipulated it in a way that they want to take advantage of the vulnerable? As a parent, you have to do the work of parenting. Keep an eye on your child. Ask the questions. If something does not feel right, as a parent, I always feel that we have that inner instinct that just goes off when something does not feel right.
You and I can be reasonable and be rational enough to know not to do these things. But there are people who are watching who are totally dependent on whatever the imam says, whatever the pastor says. They are totally, there are some people that if you see how their entire life is structured around, mommy said, daddy said this. So it's all about what mommy and daddy have said. And I don't want to discountenance that because, I reverence my own daddy Gio and mommy Gio. If daddy Gio comes in today and says, Brian, Afolabi Brown, I will go.
Yes.
Without asking questions, because I trust him. And the same reverence I have for him that they have for their own spiritual leaders. So the question is, how do we now decipher what is right and how to teach our children to decipher?
Put your interest first. Put the interest of your child. In fact, first of all, have clarity on what that interest is. I remember my child being in an Islamic school, but I just would not sleep right, knowing that he's 2, and I leave him with somebody that smiles every day and it seems fake to me. So I would come to school when it wasn't expected. I would tiptoe to class without wanting somebody to announce me. I would watch and I never caught anything until he told me he was being abused. So he couldn't even express himself, but the moment he called the name at a scratch or that was unexplainable, we took it up and I found he was being beaten by that person. Sometimes, and the priority is that child. As I am, I don't even know whether anybody is existing. If I didn't have a child so helpless, you know, as they are growing, and now I know that sometimes when they tell you that, no, there might be another side to that story. But when a child is on that certain age, there's no other side to the story. When you want to carry your child for any form of deliverance, is it a place you have access? Because some places, there was a documentary BBC did. Some places, I think somewhere in Senegal, you cannot access. Once you drop your child, go home. You will see your child in a year. They'll tell you, don't worry, it's a process. The one that happened in Zamfara, that parents were coming to pick their children in chains. They couldn't see those children ever. They will not line your children up to go and beg for food for the imam. That's not a place that's not a place you can leave your child.
So what you said now is that you put that child first. Even if you trust, because I'm trying to
you cannot trust.
I'm trying to I'm trying to be in the mind of the average Nigerian who completely and totally trusts that the Gio are mommy Gio. If so, you as an adult, you can go wholeheartedly. But when your child is involved, there's no mommy Gio that is too big to trust. You must know what they do. You must have their, you must be very clear, crystal clear what you're doing. Be there. Do your research and ensure that this place is safe. Yes, let's deliver us together.
Deliver us together, all of us.
Right, let me pause you for a quick second. Sorry about that. Let me take this call and I'll come back to you, YK. Dio, good morning. Are you there?
Yes, good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Yes, first-time caller. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome to the show. I think it's the
first-time caller.
And welcome back to the hot grammar.
Hot grammar. Volume is pretty low. I can't hear you, but go ahead.
Yes, please. This topic is very key and very, very nice. So I grew up with my aunt and everything. She had a child, a daughter. She was autistic, kind of. So she took her to a pastor. I mean, day before, the pastor said, okay. But after a while, we realized that the 3 children were sleeping with her every night. It was horrible, it was horrific, I was sad and everything. But one day, she became pregnant, we had to take away from there. The key point here is that it's not because because he's a pastor, a reverend, or imam. Do you trust he himself and whom the pastor lives with? That's the key. Thank you very much. Good morning.
Who got pregnant?
The autistic child. They had to took her there. It was the pastor's children.
They were
sleeping with the girl. The poor child.
Wow.
Do you understand?
That's another part.
Sometimes it's not even the pastor, it's his family. Or maybe his...
Well, they take advantage of, she's autistic, she might not know what's going on, or she might not be aware, she won't talk, she won't say anything.
It just boils down to, don't give your responsibility to another human being.
Spiritual deliverance, like it's difficult for you to do that yourself.
Spiritual. You and I can decide which spirituality we want. Your child cannot. So it is your duty to guide that child. It's your duty to watch over that child.
Profound. Yeah.
But okay, let's even talk about
let's think that in for a second. That's important because what you're saying is that we adults, we define spirituality, but a child, you cannot define that for a child.
And also, the Christianity makes it, talks about the blessing that you can give as a parent to your own offspring. So you have that power, that whatever spiritual father does for you as an adult, you can do that for your own child. You are your own child's spiritual father. You can pray for your child. They say you can even curse your child. So why not lay your hands on and take care of your child?
Yes.
When you give birth to your child, physically you have to nurture it, breastfeed it. You cannot hand it over to someone else.
To breastfeed.
So you go to if I understand, I come to you. If I understand, you get that spiritual source from your pastor, from wherever it is, and then come home and do deliverance for your child in your house. By yourself.
But let's add this caveat. Every situation requires patience. It's patience and prayer. What we are looking for fast, that we are dumping our children in places where they say, go, don't look back. Just love the child. As you are going, don't look back. A child that you birth. That's fast. It doesn't happen like that. Some situations are they require so much, because some take so many years. but you will see that child turn out well. I know children who were trans at birth, who were, you know, as young people, who turned out to be the best of character, virtues, and those challenges life put towards them is forming them for adulthood. As a parent, your decision is not to listen, your position should not be to listen to everybody judging that, this is speaking, I talk like this, I do like this. Your decision, your position is to watch your child and say, this worries me, and seek help for those who would understand, and continue to put in effort to make that child better. Little by little, but gradually but surely. Not to carry that child, this speaking, they do it. Take. You have to fix it. So how they do it doesn't concern you.
Just fix it.
If it is the beating,
and the same goes for schools.
the spirit.
The same goes for schools, especially when you put your children in boarding school. I would advise, if your child's school is the one that they say you cannot call, you cannot visit, you cannot...
Some will say you can't take teacher's number.
That's some will say you cannot reach out to their teachers. Red flag, red flag, red flag.
Take your child and run.
You must be able to reach out to your child. You must have any time. Well, I don't know about any time, but there should be a time, and then you should be able to reach out to someone anytime you want. You should be able to come and visit unannounced sometimes. But you see those schools
unannounced, just how many people want to come unannounced?
Unannounced, you should be able to do it.
It's a missing thing.
You know, it may even be an inconvenience, but they know, well, I'm here. I don't know what you would like me to do, but I'm already here.
It disrupts the flow of the school every day.
That excuse is false.
I have to get a break. We have that story when we come back. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Excuse me.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing sodomy, especially with religious leaders. And I take a few tweets on social media.
He says, Moriah said, is the manipulative sermons. But isn't that what religion is about these days? Do you know what it takes to convince a full adult to give up 10% of their cash and more every month? Daddy Matilda says, entrusting children to religious clerics is simply illiteracy and a result of having more children than one can cater for. Most especially those sent to live with Muslim clerics for years in the guise of Quranic lessons. No stranger can look after one's child better than they.
Okay, Ashade Miracle says, I'm sure there are many people dealing with this problem and are ashamed to talk about it.
I mean, Simon Rose says, sorry, no one person gets God number alone. If you build yourself spiritually too, they will only confirm what you know already.
So that was the teaching.
I was going to go ahead. Richie
says, this is why I limit what I discuss about my children to my own mother. She has this same mindset. Everything is a demonic attack. Now only you demon they chase, and your hands clean. Why the fear?
Many people on this table.
So let me just remind us that demon binding and casting is not just an African thing. We all do it. And I was just reading the article by Mr. David Curry saying that in Portland, Oregon, Archbishop Alexander still led the procession of 200 people to exorcism, and they tried to remove the demons in Portland, Oregon, after lots of violent protests had come to the community at the time. Same happened in San Francisco, where Archbishop Salvador also did the same thing. So the point is, the concept of deliverance, the concept of removing demons, spiritual demons, is something that is biblical. That's standard. Once it's biblical, it's not manipulated, it's reference. However, human beings manipulate that or take advantage of that and twist it and then commit crimes by sodomizing young people. So the question is, how do we ensure that our children are with responsible adults, which we discussed? And we're now saying that, listen, because they are children, they don't make the decision. You as an adult, you get the spiritual cleansing on behalf of your minor and then deliver the child. That's what we've spoken. That's where we've gone so far.
Let me tell you what I've seen that I consider an abuse. So a person suffers mental health, let's say schizophrenia, for instance, he's heavily, and we in Islam, we believe that there are spirits called jinns that attack a person. Then there are licensed way of doing it. That I know in Islam, where they call it ruqya, where prayers are read to the person's ears to bring him to calmness.
Right.
But you now have a person who doesn't have any license, no training in psychiatry, nothing to prepare the person, offering a solution where he believes to chain and beat and use chemicals or drugs or things that I don't know how to put it. I don't want to call them drugs.
Psychoactive.
Things that he mixes unexplainably to your child or your relative to bring them to calmness so that he can then say he's reciting to their ears. So if you go to Dubai, you see hospitals that are licensed psychiatrists that practice ruqya.
Yeah.
You go to Saudi, they do that. They practice is where they recite, but they know how it is medically advised to calm the person till they can recite, and so that's how it is done. What you see here, God forbid bad thing.
Wait, hold on. Let me take this call from Qatar. Good morning, Samuel. Are you there? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, he's there. Hello? Samuel?
Hello,
Yes, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to contribute to the topic on grant. I think the parents have a lot to do regarding raising up a child. Because crossing... Hello?
Go ahead. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, because raising up a child is only the grace of God. Because my dad is a pastor, and he normally watches over us. Even before we go to, when we are sleeping at night, he will come to check on us, both the male and the female. So I think the major thing is the parents. They have a lot to do, watching over their children and the person they go out with, and just to like a policing, just to police them and guide them in the right thing. Keeping your child with any pastors sometimes might be something else, but parents have a lot to do regarding monitoring.
Thank you very much, sir. Okay, yes.
Yeah, one of the stories we read, the pastor, the girl was 12.
Yes.
And he raped her till she got pregnant. And it was this deliverance. Yeah. Now, what I wanted to say about your demonic exorcism. You see, I agree with Nima to the point where I think it's mental issues. Because the brain is a very delicate, it's the most delicate part of our body. Just one thing can turn you mad. You can take a drug that will just like that. And then they will say you have demons. You can. So please, if you think that people have demons, send them to where they fight demons.
So not for that.
Not you, pastor, or you, imam, think you can fight any demon. Take them where they deserve to be.
Where is that?
Jonestown. I mean, you people don't remember the story of Jonestown.
Yes.
He manipulated those people.
They died,
killed themselves.
Right,
and then they killed themselves.
Yeah.
It was manipulation.
Let me take this call because I still want us to bring it back to the fact that it's the reality of a Nigerian parent to feel that my child needs spiritual cleansing and they take the children. So the difference I want us to clarify here, the decision for a parent to say, pray for my child, is not bad, but is how to ensure that that decision is taken with proper precaution. And also, how do you ensure the responsibility of the adult who is praying for the child? That's where I want us to...
My child can be in the house, you can pray for her.
Don't leave your minor with your spiritual leader.
Taking us somewhere.
Even you not go and sleep
no matter how you trust.
Exactly, and if they must go and sleep somewhere, you'll be right there beside them, sleeping with them.
Let me take this call, Mike. I'll come back to you. Let me take this call. Good morning, are you there?
Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please. Catherine.
Okay, my opinion about this is... I don't want to say I'm a victim, but I think I am. Because sometimes it's not really religious bodies. It's family members, friends, people your parents respect. Okay, because I was a victim of this kind of a thing. It's not really pastor or a man, but someone your parents respect. And they'll expect you that, even till today, I can't tell my mom that, this happened and all that. Because, why? Because she'll be like, this person cannot do this.
That's
it's not possible. Do you get?
Yeah.
And it's annoying that the person you're supposed to confide in, that is supposed to help you fight the fight, is the one now telling you that, this person who is supposed to be someone you're supposed to hate or not like or not come close to is not advising you to even be closer to the person more. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I think things have a lot of things have to be put in place because it's annoying. And
Thank you, Kathy.
today, I guess.
So, Nima, don't we trust anybody? Can we trust?
No, see, this is how it is. Your child's first call. What I have seen in experience is that the child, when abuse comes home, and the mother is like, "I want to saw this man's name." If that is your first sentence,
You have lost that child.
you have lost that child.
Forever.
And you know, this conditioning, Weke gave an example of when the child just suddenly goes quiet. The child is so angry that, you know, you pushed me to this. You took me to this person. You made it possible. You know, I could have, escaped or done something, but it was your choice.
Yeah.
And imagine that you're damaging your own
Abdicated
child.
responsibility.
Thank you. While you're looking for solution. What you call solution. Sometimes, maybe your child is different. You have 4 or 5. They're not all the same. One is just different. So that child does not exactly have the money. If you look into the family very well, you will see that child is the black sheep that took the genes of the black sheep within your family. And that's the honest truth. Because we're all different. We're not all the same. Yeah. We were 5 kids. We're not all the same. I have 2. I see 2 different people every day in their choices and the way they talk. So when they grow up tomorrow, and one is easygoing, and the other one is not, and I'll say that child has demons.
Who defines whether black sheep is good or bad? And why must black sheep be bad? Why must everything black be bad? Excuse me. I will go with my father's family. My father's family, everybody was, his first sister was a nurse, his 2 brothers were doctors, he was the only musician. So he was the black sheep. Today, he's still the black sheep.
No, he's not. He's the whitest of the sheep.
So who defines what is black?
So would we say it's white? She's still a black sheep.
I'm not saying whether. I'm not saying who says that black sheep is bad.
I can argue that Fela is still a black sheep.
I didn't say black sheep, but I said who defines whether black sheep is good or bad. If I decide to be a black sheep, doesn't mean I'm bad. Yes. It just means I have decided to be different.
Yeah. Thank you. Let's use the word different. So who defines that being different is bad? So you know,
coloring your hair green doesn't make you bad.
No, you are the one who set the parameter for your name to be remembered. So you want all your children to do doctor, engineering, medicine, and something else, accounting, so that your name will be remembered. But if God wants your name to be remembered in another way, it's one child who would set themselves apart and do something different.
Anyway, we have to wrap up soon. Let us bring it back to the conversation. Let me let you come in here.
No, I was just going to say there's a Christian saying that says the rejected stone has now become the cornerstone. So where you have the person that is different and everybody's trying to understand how do we understand. You know, it happens that way. So the black sheep, I guess, has a lot to do with racism, where everything that does not work well is termed black. But concerning this topic, it's important that we understand that some of these things that we call spiritual problems is the fact that people who are supposed to handle these spiritual problems don't have the necessary experience or education to diagnose a problem. There was a time autistic children were taken to pastors to be healed. There were so many times I've seen people with Down syndrome taken to churches because they thought an evil spirit had embodied, had consumed them. And these children were taken back and forth. But now we have education, and I hope that many Nigerians are aware that we have other issues, mental health issues. You can take your child through the right process. And we're also hoping that the churches are aware of this and educating themselves so that for those Nigerians that still believe that their first point of call is the church, they will meet an experienced and educated pastor or man of God or woman of God who would direct them to the proper place, the hospital, a therapist, to deal with it. Because many of these things are not spiritual problems. They're just problems that have been misdiagnosed or not diagnosed at all.
This story of this woman who took her 12-year-old to the pastor, and the pastor raped her, and got her pregnant. That girl was pregnant for 7 months. The woman didn't know. Is that a responsible parent? She's not a responsible parent.
Who has lost 2 children. Her mental state also can be diagnosed. She may not be mentally stable. She lost 2 children. This 3rd child is her last child. This is her last child.
But if it was Oyinbo people would have found out, was she a negligent parent? What happened to those 2 children that they died? What kind of illness did they have that she did not take them to the hospital for? If she took them to the hospital that they were not properly taken care of. We always just end up, we have a situation and we just say the devil had appeared.
Why can't you have a relative
not
supervise what you're doing?
Anyways, we don't have that side of the story, so let's not debate it. But the point is that we have to wrap up on this. And I think the real crux of the conversation, I also want us to pinpoint what I think Catherine has said it, that it's not just pastors, trusted family members. So somebody you trust, your family member. And when I hear this, I cringe because I want to be able to I want my kids to be free with their uncles and aunties and people. I don't want to keep thinking, oh, this one is around, oh, please do. I mean, is that a new world we're living in now that we have to constantly be afraid? Constantly be afraid.
Yes, equip them. Equip them. I saw this video online. A parent was getting her 5-year-old child prepared for school in America, and they got him a bulletproof bag. That's their reality.
Abi?
You will prepare your child for the present realities, and that is to be able to speak to you, tell you everything that they feel that they're uncomfortable with, notice what they think, what you have taught them to be red flags. That's it. What can you do? There was a time we were teaching children not to pick money off the ground because there were stories of people turning into goats and whatever. You have to do it.
Some parents go on, they get bull legs. There is this little boy. There's this little boy. The cousin that came from Nigeria was abusing him. So he told the mother, I don't want this uncle bathing me again because he touches my bum bum. The mother called the boy. But anyway, call family matter. The parents from Nigeria said, no, their son can't do that. They didn't prosecute that child, that boy, or put red flag on his head. They sent him to another family.
To go and do the same to somebody's child.
To go and do the same thing to another family. Because it's our family secret.
That's one secret family name.
Yeah. So this matter for me. Please, talk it out.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to wrap up. But see, in a nutshell, I think what I even have learned from this is that, listen, a minor is a minor. A minor cannot decide to go for deliverance themselves. You are the adults in this conversation. So if you feel my minor needs some kind of deliverance, it should be deliverance with guidance, with your guidance, meaning that you were there. I mean, as I said, I was an adult when I went for my own spiritual deliverance. And I was in the right mind, even though it was said I was sent by my mom, but I was an adult. But if I was going to send a child, don't send a child completely and totally to somebody you can't vouch for. Even if you can vouch for them, don't. Because they're a minor. So we are this deliverance, we're doing it together. When you're done deliverance, I will stay here and watch you. When you're done, all of us will go to our house together.
It's family problem.
Or worst case scenario, give me the scriptures. Or give me the Bible, Quranic verses. Let me go home and pray to my child. And I trust and believe that faith, the child will be healed. But don't leave your child over to anybody.
When you want to pray for your children, don't you pray by yourself?
Yes,
Thank you. You don't have to call your children to pray for them now. So if you want to pray for my child, pray for your house. I don't have to bring my child over to you to pray for my child. Pray if you want to pray for my child in your house.
But there's something laying at hand.
Laying my head. You're taking my child.
Don't say what you don't know. Laying of hands.
The spirit that revealed this to Waiki, what she just
said.
Is
laying of hands.
There's a story in the Bible where a centurion came to see Jesus and talked about his child who needed to be healed. And Jesus said, go, your child is healed. The centurion was wondering, oh, you will not follow me to the house? Like, no, he has spoken. The child that was miles away was healed.
Did Jesus not lay hands?
Sometimes
Jesus laid hands. So let's not pretend that Jesus laid hands on people. And
but
they
sometimes he didn't. Our reality now is don't touch hands. Don't lay hands.
That's our head.
Nobody's taking.
It's very important.
Nobody's taking anything. That is all we can take on today's segment. When we come back, move on to our Let's Talk, which is more of health. Stay with us. No, not health.
Yeah.
Traffic and traveling in the Ember months. Stay with us. We'll be right back.